I'm
The
ready to
floor
go.
is yours.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit this evening about the second phase of your training in the area of the Rotary Foundation, which is targeted service. That basically is talking in terms of the activities surrounding grants. And as I mentioned earlier, that's my area of interest at the district. So let's take a brief look at the Rotary Foundation as we learned about it in the first session. First session, we talked about the mission of the Rotary Foundation. Recall that it is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through improvements of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. And those categories are broken down a little further when we get into the session, as you'll see, as to the type of grants and the various areas that they are used. Take a look at your book. I think you have a book that shows the foundation grant model. It's an insert TS1. You'll see there that there are two types of grants. The district grant, which here in District 5520, we sometimes use the word community grant interchangeably with the word district. And the other type of grant are the global grants. I for one, tend to lean towards the term community grants because that's where the rubber meets the road in most cases in both the larger clubs and the smaller clubs throughout the district. They have the name district because the funding comes through the district with district participation. And what they are they are funding small scale, short-term activities, usually about a year long. Some of them are less. Some of them are actually singular events that take place at some point on the calendar that address the needs of the community and the communities, in some cases, the communities abroad. Each district chooses these activities and funding of those projects. I can't say that District 5520 does a lot of the choosing. We come up with the dollars and tell you how much we have to work with. Historically, these grants run from a minimum of $250 to a club participation of $2,000 and a district participation of an equal amount. If you put in $1,000, the district will put in $1,000. These projects are humanitarian, usually in nature. They talk here about disaster recovery efforts. Thank God we haven't had to worry about that in 5520. There have been some scholarships, but most of the projects are community directed and usually are, excuse me, of an event or of a project that involves not only the club or clubs, because some of these projects will draw in 2 or 3 other clubs so that they can combine their resources to get the job done. We tend to look at projects that benefit specific areas of the communities in which our clubs operate. And the clubs know better than we do at district where that money is best utilized. So the clubs come up with the proposals. We help them, if necessary, refine those proposals and get the money put together so that they can implement the project. Global grants are a much different sized animal, much larger. The minimum for a global grant is 30 grand, $30,000. They support large, usually international activities that are sustainable and measurable within the Rotary various areas of focus. Grant sponsors form the international partnership. Usually will have a club from 5520 teaming up with a club somewhere else in the world, frankly. A lot of our projects are in Mexico, but they're not restricted to that country. And they're mostly, in our case, humanitarian projects with some vocational training, because vocational training is sometimes necessary in the sustainability of the project. I've used that word sustainability a couple of times. What do you think it means? Anybody want to tell me? Mr. Garner, what do you think sustainability is all about?
Sorry.
I think you must have. We've got Tammy's name under my face there.
That's why I use the term Mr.
And I appreciate that. And I'm sorry. I'm still trying to process everything about the grants, because this has been something that's been really confusing to me up until now, at least. Sustainability. When you ask me what does that mean, I just if a project was worthy of a grant, I guess there would need to be a demonstration that that there'd be a lasting impact.
I think that is true, but I think also that sustainability to me means that the host country and the beneficiaries of the project ultimately are going to have responsibility for it, that the project will continue whether we keep coming back or not. And that should be built in from the beginning. That's
the answer that best fits the definition of sustainability. If you take a look at TS3, it explains it in a little more detail in the chart form. But in a nutshell, we're talking about a project that, if you do it right, it must continue to operate on its own in the future after it's implemented. Give you a good example. When the Rotary Foundation started getting into some of these large grants, they tended to get into what are water projects, bringing water to a village. And they did a great job in installing the pipeline and the pumps and all that other stuff to get that water to that village. But when they came back a year later, they discovered that it wasn't working very well. Why do you think it wasn't working very well, Craig? I may have lost Craig.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was muted. I don't know, Dom. I don't know why it wasn't working.
Well, it wasn't working because somebody didn't maintain the pump.
Oh.
And they didn't maintain the pump because they didn't know how. So TRF in its wisdom, built in sustainability, where if you were writing one of these large global grants, you had to show the foundation that you were going to put some money aside to train operators to maintain that pump and to learn how to put in replacement parts and such to keep it going. And that is a simple example of what sustainability is all about. Because without it, that pump is going to rust out and never be used again. And all of the work that was done on the front end will have failed. So we now make sure that we train people on the ground. Yale was close to it when he talked about it having to be in the host country, and those that were supporting the project from a local basis. And this is a classic example of what that's all about. If you take a look at the chart there, you'll see that it takes into consideration a lot of different aspects, both economic, cultural, environmental, and social. They all go hand in glove with where the project is and who the people are that are working on it. Grants are a complicated process. Under the new system that began July 1 of last year, it's a whole new ball game than it used to be, and frankly, it is more complex. In our district, we've tried to simplify it in two ways, and the Rotary Foundation has helped us do that. If you take a look at the RI website and look under the foundation and look under global grants, you can actually find out the forms that are easily filled out right there online to work on one of those larger grants. Our clubs in this particular district tend to lean towards the district grants. They're smaller, they're on the ground, they're in the communities that our clubs reside, and much easier to manage. We have tried to simplify the application for these grants, and if you look at the district website, again, under the district foundation, you will find the forms that are necessary to put together one of these grants. There are some deadlines for the district grants. There are no deadlines that I'm aware of with reference to the large global grants. The district grants are anywhere from 1 June through 15 July for the district to accept those applications. And everything is out there on the district site for you to do that. There's a couple of us that are involved that you can find if you look at the directory of the district. One of the guys is Andrew Garrison. He's your go-to guy when it comes to community grants. And he's been working at it now for 3 years and knows that system very effectively. Let me step back for a minute and direct your attention to the insert for insert number 2. And you will see that as of 1 July of 2015, that's been slightly modified from what they used to do for what they called, I think at that time they called them matching grants. Still the same idea, where somebody like Yale contributes $1,000, and after 3 years, 500 of it goes back to the district in the form of district designated funds, and 500 of it goes to the World Fund. You'll note that there are a number of contributions that are affected that go ultimately come back to the club, so that these DDF funds, the DD funds are made available. And that's through the annual fund, the endowment fund, and of course Polio Plus is really Polio Plus. It stays there. But the endowment is what we get, spendable earnings, and through the annual fund, it ends up partially being through that share system, as they now call it, so that we can benefit from the money that we contribute. Any questions up till now?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
Don, do we still do in District 5520 the by-district conference?
Yes, we do.
And does the money for those projects, I've been to a couple of them, does the money for those projects come only from the clubs, or does the district match what the clubs put up?
The district will match, but I'm going to tell you very frankly, these are not part of the district grant program. They are something that our district came up with that are separate from those district grants. So my club goes down to the district conference. It's got a couple of $1,000 that it wants to plop into some project in Mexico, and the Mexicans are there to assist us in helping us spend our money by showing us some of the projects they've got. But they are standalone.
So if your club puts up, we've done the same thing. In fact, in the past, we've told Governor Tom, because instead of spending $1,000 to go from Taos to El Paso or wherever, it makes more sense to give the money. And so we've told Governor Tom, you pick a project and just give the money. And my question is, if we do that, or if we go with money, does the district match what the club puts up?
No, not necessarily.
And that's what I wondered.
The district puts up the money when it comes to the RI district grant program. And that's $1 for dollar up to $2,000 at this point.
I understand that. We've done that a lot.
So Dom, just to clarify, is it that clubs typically don't use the district grant process, or they can't use it for the projects with Mexico?
No, they can use it. They tend, because I think from their standpoint, they've got this money and it's easier for some of the clubs, because of their size, to go straight to a project with a club in Mexico rather than go through all the, if you will, falderall of getting the district matching grants.
Got it. So it basically provides an expedited way of getting something done if you don't need the match.
Yeah, and I think we may be the only district in the country that does this. And I don't know how it began, but it's worked out pretty well for both countries, because I made it sound like the Americans are only supporting Mexican programs or projects, but the truth of the matter is many of those Mexican clubs don't mind supporting some of the projects on our side of the Rio Grande. And we'll come back and do so. We've had a number of assists from Mexican clubs in the Albuquerque area as an example.
For many years, that's the way we did ours here in El Paso. My club had ties to clubs in Juarez, and it was just the pattern that we do one of their projects, they do one of our projects.
Yeah, it's a scratch each other's back kind of thing.
Yeah, and it worked well.
Yeah, and some of the same clubs that do something through the district by district conference will also come back and do a community grant through the district. Separate project. Any other questions?
Well, I have a comment. I learned gradually about this whole process over the decade that I've been a Rotarian. I think we should encourage more of our club presidents to participate in foundation training, especially now that we're using Zoom technology.
I agree with you. And as far as the grant programs are concerned, there are some requirements regarding training. For instance, to do some of these global grants, you need to have at least 2 people in the club trained in the management of those kind of grants. And we require that to be done on an annual basis. The same holds true for the community grants, because there's not only management requirements, there's reporting requirements to the district for those grants. And frankly, I just talked to District Governor Tom on yesterday about using Zoom to train the various club representatives on the community grant and global grant projects. Zoom is a really good way of doing that.
Oh, this is great. Our club actually lost out 1 year on a community grant because we didn't file, our then president and chair didn't file a report on what we did with the money. So boom, we were off the list for a year. It was like leaving money on the table.
Yeah, we do have that issue. If you don't report, you don't get any more money.
Right.
And my understanding is that sometimes those international grants can take 2-3 years to even get an approval.
I haven't seen the approval process being that slow, but I have seen the reporting process to go that slow. As a matter of fact, last year we had a very serious problem with a club in the district that had been working with a club in India on a global grant. And India evidently has different priorities than we do as far as reporting is concerned. And it got to the point where Rotary International, the foundation, came back to both clubs and said, this has been dragging on for 3 years. If you do not do something about this in very short order, you will lose your charter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as a comment on that, that was one of my clubs in my area, and our club on this side was not where the problem was. It was.
That's right. Yeah, but that's what happens.
Virtually no control.
You have to understand, if you're going to get into a global grant, you have to understand the culture and the philosophies of the international partner that you're joining up with. And in this particular case, the club in India didn't set much of a priority when it came to reporting, until it came to the possibility of losing their charter.
Dom, I think there's also a factor of, the question was how fast can grants be approved? I think there's a question of your track record and credibility, like the proposals out of Santa Fe that Cheryl's Club does with Deborah Simon, who's one of my real Rotary heroes. She's been doing them so well and for so many years. When her projects come in, I'm quite sure that they are read differently. On the other hand, Norm Arnold and Robin out of Alamogordo, they had to go back to Evanston and pull teeth to get funding for the bridges.
I think this year it was a matter of months instead of, almost all year before it was approved.
That's $5 in our club.
Yep, I think it should be $5. Yep.
Every project is an animal unto itself. And some of them are easily put together and others are much, much more complicated. And that's particularly true of the global grants. The community grants are, because of their smaller size and ease of contact between Andrew and myself and the clubs, we can better understand what a club is trying to do and help them formulate a good proposal that will fly pretty easily. We're trying to make those move a little faster than they have in the past. Our problem up till now has been manpower. We don't have a lot of people that can do this. I think we managed to run through 40 some odd community grants this last year. That's not counting the global grants and the management of those, which is handled by another individual on my staff. But they historically, and I'm talking about the community grants, will take about 3 months from the time we get them in and we formally ask for the funding and get the checks cut and into the hands of the clubs. Any more questions on that?
Dom, I think it's a great idea. If between you and Tom, if you want to use Zoom for the foundation training, it'll just be a really small fee. We'll cut you a deal.
You're gonna. You sound like some of the friends I grew up with in New York. And my answer is such a deal.
Such a deal.
Talking about the global grants, take a look at the page that shows the foundation's area of focus. We talked about sustainability. What I didn't say at that time was those global grants have to fit at least one of those areas of focus. And as you can see, they're far-ranging, and it's really not too difficult to do if you get with a partner and you get your head screwed on right. The ones I've seen most of have been water and sanitation, but we have had education and we have had child health, and they work pretty well. But the most difficulty we have is getting the clubs to understand that they've got to articulate how that grant they want is going to fit into one of these areas of focus.
Dom, have there been situations where a global grant was funded where we were the host country rather than the one that was supporting projects in other countries?
I know there have been, but I haven't seen one in our district. I do know that you could take some community grants, and if you really wanted to escalate that grant in size, you could turn it into a global grant. And I'm thinking of some of the grants in the past that have done with the Native American Pueblos in the area of literacy. And the only thing that you have to watch out for is everybody wants to go build an edifice to house whatever this project is all about. And the Rotary Foundation frowns and has always frowned on brick and mortar as a part of the project. They don't mind you doing internal work on a building. They don't mind you doing expansions of a building, an extension to put in the maybe the fresh water pump or something like that, but they're not going to let you build the building. We had a club just this last year that wanted to do a project with a partner in Mexico and build a school in that particular town in Mexico, which is right across the border. And that never actually saw, the ink never saw the paper because it was dead before it got any further. Anything else? Well, I think I've kind of run out of gas on this. There's probably a lot of questions you can come up with in the future. We'll be making presentations for those of you that are going to become presidents, we'll probably be doing a presentation at PETS. Tom is going to talk about it a little bit at the AG-LG conference next month, which will save me a trip, thank goodness. Although I don't mind going down south. But don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call. Andrew Garrison is really very, very good at responding to emails. And he's better at emails because he travels a bit.
I worked with Andrew on a community grant, and he was very responsive and very helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, he is. And he knows the business really well. And if he doesn't know, he knows where to get the answers. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being with you tonight. You're all great. And I got to tell you, working with this grant program has been one of the most satisfying areas I've been exposed to in my almost 40 years in Rotary.
Wow.
So good night. Thanks again.
Thank you. Okay, before we